I'd like to talk today about something that is near and dear to all of our hearts, and that is candy. Specifically, chocolate candy. There's a lot of great candies out there, but I went to, and like we all have, go to gas stations and supermarkets and all sorts of different places, and every time we go, it's always the same candies, and I love candy. I'm a huge addict. I love Snickers and M&Ms and Reese's Pieces and Reese's Peanut Butter Cups and all these things. But I get bored of them sometimes, and my mind then goes down to like these second and third tier candies. And recently I was getting even more bored because for me it starts with like Twix, Kit Kat, Snickers, and then there's kind of like a hierarchy where like if I'm roughing it, I'll get into a Three Musketeers. But if I am like just I don't love Three Musketeers. I'm not a big nougat guy. But then I'll get into like a couple of my personal favorites that I don't eat all the time because I want to keep them as personal favorites. I love me a good 100 Grand bar. If it wasn't for the damn foil, I would eat Rolos, and now they make those where you can eat them. But then I just feel like a fatty. But so Rolos are great. Something that I love, and I wish I would keep more often in my freezer because I like snapping them in half, are Charleston Chews. Those are often not remembered. And then my kind of go-to non-classic mains, I personally like a Whatchamacallit. So I've gone through all of that. I've been, dealing with just the isolation of what we're all going through right now, and I went even deeper down past these like second tier candies into I was just looking and I was like, all right, should I try something? Maybe there's something on this list that I went and tried, and I had a very interesting experience. Now, before I get to that, I want to just go into a little bit. I went down a little bit of rabbit hole and I was like, I want to talk about candy bars. So I just did like a little bit of research. And again, we're talking about chocolate more specifically. But chocolate's kind of a fascinating thing. It was, at first we were drinking it up until like the mid 1800s. And then a dude named Joseph Fry, he's the first person in 1847 to actually make a chocolate bar. Then fast forward, chocolate as we know it didn't start becoming the brands that we know it were more regional for a long time. And then in the 30s, Snickers came around, and it was named after a horse. Not a horse named Snickers, a horse named Marathon. But then they realized that was a dumb name, so they switched that. Then Kit Kat came around in the 1935. It was at the time it was called the Roundtree Chocolate Crisp. During that time, there was also the Three Musketeers. Now, this is something that I find fascinating and would love potentially. When Three Musketeers was an original invention, they actually were like Neapolitan ice cream. One was strawberry, one was vanilla, one was chocolate, and there were 3 chunks in one bar. But because of chocolate shortages strawberry and vanilla shortages during World War II, they had to just say, we're going to stick with just the chocolate, which is crazy. So that's a little bit of backstory. Now, fast forward, all these companies, they decide to, there's all these small regional companies that are making candies, and you can go deep. There's the Idaho Candy Company. There's all these different companies. Frank Mars, who's actually from Minnesota, where I'm from, who Mars now owns M&M's, Snickers, Milky Way, Twix. There's Nestle, and there's Hershey's. So when you go into a candy aisle and you're like, all right, why do I always see the exact same things, mostly in America, in different parts of the world it's different. But in America, it's like these things have become like staples. They're like classic. And there's a Oligopoly, not a monopoly, an oligopoly. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Anyways, it's Hershey's, it's Mars, and it's Nestle's. Nestle's does things like Kit Kat, which is actually made by Hershey's in the U.S., In Europe, they make it, I guess it tastes different and it's made differently. Mars, M&M's, Snickers, Twix, and then Hershey's does Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, Hershey's Kisses, Hershey's Chocolate Bars, Twizzlers, and stuff like that. So, I am just, again, fascinated by all of this different candy, and as a true addict, as a true chocolate addict, I have gone deep down into these wells. And so one of them specifically I tried recently, I hadn't tried a Fifth Avenue bar in a while. That was something that I was jumping into. But I'm just curious how some of these candy bars even survive. Like, there's so many brands. Like, who is eating Paydays? Who's eating Paydays? Who's eating Mr. Goodbars? Like, if you're out there, I want to hear. I guess you could say who's eating Whatchamacallits, but I'm eating Whatchamacallits. Take Fives are good. One story that I find interesting when I looked into this, so Heath was its own company in like up until the 70s. And a Heath bar, whether you're a fan or not, I can enjoy one from, maybe once a year or something. But very popular in the 1970s and caught the eye of Hershey's. So Hershey's says, hey, we'll buy you up. Heath is like, nah, we're going to stay independent. So Hershey's just goes to another company, buys the original, somehow finds the original recipe. They introduce their own version of it called the Score Bar, which if you see that it's sitting there right next to it. So the Score Bar kills it. The Heath bar sales fall. They end up having to sell to this company in Finland, which then ultimately gets bought by Hershey's. It's just if you look into these companies, it's truly like there's no competition. There's no, no one's innovating. There's no one, like as much as I love chocolate, as much as like when I put it here, it tastes amazing, but what it does to my body and how it tricks my brain into thinking that it's actually like good for me. It's obviously sugar and all that stuff causes inflammation and diabetes and all the things. Like if we had potentially more opportunities for people to do startup companies in this space, could we potentially have even better candy that still tastes amazing but potentially is good for us? So that's kind of the idea. So again, I go deep into I get tired of certain candies, so I just keep going. I love M&M's, then I love peanut M&M's. Then when they came out with peanut butter M&M's, I was like, damn. Peanut butter M&M's are the jam. I will say if those made me feel good, if they were like physically good for my body, I would just eat peanut butter M&M's all day long. So I can't do that. And so what I do is I get bored with candy, and so I go deeper and deeper down. The one I tried recently is a bar that Hershey's puts out that is called the Zero Bar. The Zero Bar is, it's not made out of chocolate. Instead, it's made out of a caramelized, drizzled peanut and almond nougat dipped in rich white fudge. I was like, fuck it, I'm going to try it. Let's just see what happens. I'm going to go down this rabbit hole and see what happens. So I bought one. I brought it home. I had a little bit of chocolate milk just in case. And I try this thing. And it's terrible. I have no idea how this. If you're a fan of the Zero Bar, please comment. Please, I genuinely want to know if there's anyone who's still buying this, or is it just a perpetuation of the oligarchy that is Hershey's putting out products and they just own shelf space. And the reality is that we're all just addicts and showing up to get our fix. And our drug dealers know exactly what to give us, and they give us no variety, and because of it, we're going to be forever on the hook. So if you, like me, love candy and chocolate, but are surprised that there's so many random chocolate bars still on the shelves, leave a comment, subscribe. I'm going to leave some more videos, and so that's what I have to say about candy.